It's almost time for Sixers basketball, but in the meantime, you got a little NBA basketball tipping off tonight to start the 25-26 campaign. And then we've got some months to go of hopeful excitement for this basketball team. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers podcast, live from the Xfinity Lounge. We got basketball. Derek Bodner, Kyle Newbeck, Devon Givens. Bree is here. She's the president of basketball operations. All of you in the chat already, welcome. We are coming to you, presented by Crooked Tea. Pick up your tea at a store nearest you. And Bet365, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Whatever the moment, never ordinary at Bet365. Folks, we got a lot to talk about. Season Sixers predictions. It's that show that we get all things right here on the show.
Every time.
And nothing wrong when it comes to
50% of the time, it works every time.
Exactly. And we want you to run through with us your predictions, telling us how we're right or wrong, and plus give yours as well. So make sure everybody's locked in so we can get started. But before we get started, we got a message from our teammate this morning. Yes. Let's take a listen to BG.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Unblocked. And so, according to sources and what you all have heard, now you can hear from me. I'm back one more time and excited. No expectations, baby. Just trying to help the team.
Brandon Graham is back. He's our teammate for a couple of months, and he had enough.
He said, get me out of here.
BG is back. So it's great to see Brandon Graham back doing what he loved. This will always be here for him. He's fantastic in the analyst role, and I have no doubt that he'll be a star in this role. The expectation, though, is to go back and win another Super Bowl. Go help him do that. Get another sack or something, so along those lines. But
how about more than one?
Yeah, you know, because they haven't been able to do that quite often on that front line, which is why he's coming back. But with Brandon Graham coming back, we now have a new Diehard sale. Let's give it to you. 55% off the PHLY Diehard membership. All you have to do is go to allphly.com, sign up. BG is back, so he's giving you a 55% off discount on your sign up in honor of Brandon Graham returning to the Birds. The intro price when you sign up to become a Diehard member right now, you get 55% off. You get full access to premium content where you have written stories about Brandon Graham from the Eagles side. The Flyers are already in action, and the Sixers, they are back tomorrow, which is why we're here doing our prediction show. The guys will have some things ready for you for tomorrow. Phillies, of course, with Jim Salisbury. Go sign up right now. 55% off. Become a Diehard member. Allphly.com. Let's get to it. We got a lot of questions for you people. And we want to know.
Sounding like Festivus.
Exactly.
I got a lot of problems
with you people, and we need to break it all down.
Can you imagine if we ever did a Festivus show? Oh, that could get ugly. Oof.
All right, let's get to it. We got a lot of questions.
We're like that one time in Vegas. Should have made my flight.
But it's okay. With that being said, we're going in cold again, just like last week when we did not know what the answers were going to be for each one of us for the season predictions for the entire NBA. We don't know what the answers are here for the questions thrown out there for the Sixers this season. So let's get right to it, Bree. First up, a little Joel Embiid. Over, under.
Look at that. Derek and I on the same exact wavelength. Will Joel Embiid... So, by the way, we did get some complaints for the broader prediction show that when we agreed on things, we didn't actually say what those things were.
No, we have to forget that not everyone's...
Our audio-only audience. Joel Embiid, over 50 games played. We got 3 yeses. 2 of those yeses were he's only barely going to clear it, and those are for Derek and I.
I do think like 55 to 57 games is like a best case scenario. So if that is like the design best case scenario, maybe you can get into the low 60s. But like if that is the best case scenario, there's really not a lot of wiggle room. Like there's not much margin for error, which makes me a little bit uncomfortable predicting it. But I don't want to go into this season pessimistic about injuries, especially because he's given us no reason to be pessimistic outside of the history of the knee.
I was going to say, except
outside
for the
history of the knee. Look, he played 19 minutes, Kyle. Come on now.
19 minutes?
19 minutes, yeah.
Yes,
the greatest 19 minutes of the preseason.
I just fundamentally want to be optimistic about the big man's health. I can't explain it any other way.
Kyle, last year when we asked this question, you went under.
I did.
Why?
And I spent this entire offseason saying, don't count on anything from Joel. So a couple things. One, I agree with Derek, and I've been preaching this lately. If you can't be optimistic right now, what are we doing here, right? Like, why bother to engage with sports if before the season starts, you can't say, hey, I think things can go well for this team. Number two, I think the things that he can control, the things that he could do in the offseason leading up to this point, he has done well, right? Like by all accounts and using our own eyeballs, looks like he's in good shape. I think the other part of it is that mentally he's in a much better spot, right? And while that might not dictate, hey, whether he plays 50 games or 60 games or 70 games or any number, but I think having him in a frame of mind where he's prepared for the long road ahead, where he's engaged with the team, right? Like I felt like one of the big problems last year was that it was Joel on an island by himself to some extent and the team over here. And when you bring those two together, he has the support, he has the community, he has the help of his teammates, right? And I think you saw in how he played in that one preseason game. You've heard him talk about being more of a vet mentor to these younger guys and bringing them along, right? I think all those things help get him to a spot where he plays the most games possible. Now, am I preparing for him to miss time this year? Of course I am. And then there's the back-to-back situations that I think all of us probably
we factored that in.
Universally expect like he will not play in many, if any of those.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm hoping that starting on the right foot, starting game one, week one of the year in a much better place physically, that ultimately has a snowball effect for the rest of the year.
For what he has been able to control leading into this season to start off, number one, as we have been saying since the open practice, is that we didn't even expect for him to be ready for game one against Boston. We thought that would be a little bit later. So with that and controlling what he has been able to, it looks like he is going to be able to, as Kyle mentioned, with the mental aspect of it, go in there with a different aspect, a mindset of how he's going to attack these games and be ready. And now we have to find out what it looks like in game one against Boston of how he really goes out there and does it, as Derek mentioned, going to the basket on Friday night against the Minnesota Timberwolves, and he puts the ball on the floor going to the basket.
One of those M-City
How
teams.
is he? Yeah, exactly. How's he going to do it? Is he going to go in there barreling away, or is he going to take those long, elongated strides where he's under control and don't worry about dunking, just lay it up? And that's where we want to see him under control with that. And for that reason, looks like he's going in there with that right mindset, the happiness that they've all talked about for what he can control. I'm going over, and I wasn't going in that 60 or 70. I'm glad you guys put it as just barely or just over and all. I agree with you. Just over that 50 and just enough for them to be in a pretty good mix in the Eastern Conference. I saw 60 in there from Al. Gene says 70. Why not 99?
I was going to say, Gene's saying 99-0. So
Yeah.
of course, he's got to believe that Joel's
99?
playing almost every game.
So it's all good. Yes, across the board for Joel Embiid. Bree, you think he goes over that 50 threshold of games played?
Yeah, I'll take the yeah.
I didn't know we're getting predictions too.
Had to get that. Had to get that one on
we
there.
need to think of a better name than predictions.
All right.
I don't know about
passing
that.
on that.
All right, we're in on Joel Embiid going over 50-plus games. Next question for Joel Embiid. Let's see what we have here. What version of Joel?
So I think because we all said, he's not going to play 60, 70 games or whatever, I think we can get all-star Joel this year.
I agree.
I was like, because the question was almost like, well, what will he play at an all NBA caliber? I think that you could have said yes to that without thinking he will play 65 games to win the award. And there's a chance he could play an all NBA caliber, like if he's on the floor, and certainly looks more like the mobility version we saw in the preseason finale than what we saw at the end of last year. You could get back to an all NBA caliber, but in like a comfortable prediction, I will say all-star version. Yeah.
I don't want to give too much away from what I am writing for tomorrow's written preview of the season.
PHLY.com, everybody.
But the thresholds that I want to see Joel around, or in an ideal world, over, but definitely get to these marks. 25 points a game, right? For him, that should be easy, but last year it was a struggle on top of all the other stuff. So 25 points a game, double-digit rebounds. And here's the big one for me, 5 assists a game. I want to see Joel have a career high in assists. I want to see him as the hub of the offense, but not as a ball dominant, ball sticking with him, jab step 15 times. They want to play this read and react passing style. And if you put up numbers like that, you're very clearly going to be an all-star, even if your team is down in the dumps in the standings. I don't personally think they're going to be, but I want to see an evolved version of Joel, not a different version of Joel, but a guy who can still has the mastery of the mid-range, still is going to get lots of free throws and dominate in the paint, but someone who is aware, like, hey, we have lots of young guys, lots of young talent, and I have to give them a platform and give them opportunities to shine.
When we were doing this and I answered the question, I took it out from when I sent it to Bree, but Kyle, I had the same numbers. I had 25, but I had 9 boards. 5 assists and 1.5 blocks for Joel Embiid for the season. And that would be pretty much putting him right in the mix of what we've talked about in the past, where he can still affect the game. He said it all the time. My presence out there, I can help my basketball team and I can affect the game. When he gets out there, it's a little bit different when things aren't going his way. Then he starts to ramp it up and he feels like he has to drop 33. I think in this case, he might see it again where he won't have to do that all the time. Obviously, with Maxey, we'll get to Paul George here shortly, some help from others, Quentin Grimes, et cetera, that 25, Derek, will still be an effective number on a nightly basis as an average, where you can still make an all-star team, play at an all-NBA level, but it doesn't have to be that I have to save us tonight with 33 every night.
I'm going to up that a little bit. I want at least six plus assists.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
He has done 5 before. Like, if you remember, before he got injured, he was averaging 35, 11, and 5.6 before he got injured. It's easy to forget how ridiculous of a season he was having before Jonathan.
You're not wrong.
Kuminga.
He might even say that he has better collection of talent around him.
Oh, I think he does for sure.
Right.
Yep. So I would like to see like that emphasis, which, back in that 2023-24 season, he really started off strong passing, and it seemed like he got a little more into we'll call it a scoring mindset as the season wore on. I want that focus to sustain itself throughout the entire season. I think he can clear 6 if he plays enough minutes.
Melo 3-point, 20, 10, and 5 here for Joel Embiid. Headfoot goes with 25.2, 9.6, 6.7 assists for the big fella.
Down to the 10th of a...
Yeah, there you go. And wow, Nona says VJ will drop 25?
Well, we are going to talk about VJ. So if VJ is scoring 25
a game?
he's one of
Like
the greatest
per game
rookies
or
in
once?
the history of basketball.
Good stuff right there on Joel Embiid. Back to all-star level form, where, by the way, Jason Tatum is out. So some votes in the front court will be gone from him. Joel Embiid was out last year. He still finished somewhere in that top 10, but maybe even gets that back from the fans if he's able to show out. All right, let's get to the next question here in the first segment, where we go with, on the questions, third leading scorer, Quentin Grimes. I changed mine and went to Paul George.
I was going to say, because we have talked about this over the past few weeks.
Yes, but...
By the way, I really considered VJ here. I really was like, I feel like he's going to be healthier. I feel like he's going to start essentially the entire season. I thought about it, but I couldn't get there.
You know why I went with the Paul George stuff? I'm just not buying what we've been hearing. I think he's got to get his knee right.
Saying that you think he's good to go.
Positive way. I think he's good to go. And when he gets out there, a lot to prove from last season. I think he's going to be way better than the 16-5-5 or 16-6-6 from last season, and I think he's going to be that good where he's ups that number back to about 19.
So we've got a related question to this, so I don't want to go too deep on this now. But, I think part of the reason that I went with Grimes, well, first of all, he's got a contract he's playing for, so he's going to be shooting when he's out there. Second of all, he and Paul George really are the two players who fit in so many different lineup combinations because of their two-way skill that I think Nick is eventually going to have to realize, I need to get this guy on the court for a lot of minutes. I think he's going to play a good chunk of minutes, whereas I think they could be a little bit more reserved with Paul just because of the injury threat. And third of all, I just think there's going to be like 4 players who are averaging between like 12 and 17 points per game when you've got VJ, McCain, Grimes, and Paul George. Separating between those two, I don't think there's going to be a ton of separation between them. So I think maybe the guy who's probably going to end up playing more consistently is the guy I went to. Really what I'm focused on with Paul is being efficient when people are healthy and then being able to, increase that a little bit when Joel goes out. And we'll see where that ends up falling.
Why'd you go with George?
Well, the reason I didn't go with Grimes, he was the other guy in the mix. The VJ thing, I was like, maybe he could get there. But I landed on Paul because I do think the guards are going to take opportunities from one another, right? Paul, as long as he is healthy, is unimpeded. You will be on the floor. You'll be in a million different lineups. Yep. You are the guy who will be the beneficiary of Joel Embiid getting double teamed, of the guards getting trapped. Like, they're not going to, in my estimation, run a lot through Paul George the way they did at times last year. But I think he will play enough minutes and he'll get enough opportunities that the natural regression toward the mean as a shooter is going to help him, right? Like, that's my biggest thing with him coming into the year is not that he's going to be 30-year-old, 29-year-old Paul George again. It's that he will shoot the ball better, right? He shot something like 33% on wide open threes last year, which we can probably go through those and say, how they track this is not an exact science, and wide open to you is not wide open to me, is not wide open to someone else. But Paul missed a lot of gimme type shots this year. I think he's going to get better shots with a healthier Joel. I think he'll get better shots with more guard creation, right? And I just think by sheer volume of opportunity, he's going to be the third leading scorer. But that doesn't mean I think he's going to dominate touches. Like, Quentin Grimes is going to have opportunities, especially in this early part of the year with McCain still hurt, where he will probably be first guy off the bench, and he is coming in and he's thinking about nothing other than, I am putting that ball in the basket, right? So I think Grimes is a perfectly acceptable guess. I'm just going with the guy I think will play slightly more minutes here.
No, and Paul, Paul has seen his minutes drop from like 35 per game down to about 32 per game. You wonder if at 35, but Kyle's point is a good one. They don't have the other personnel to really take him off the floor all that much. So they're going to need him for 32 to 35 per night. If I didn't pick Grimes, it would have been Paul. And I probably just picked Grimes just because you want I don't want to say out of left field prediction every now and then, but something that's not chalk is, but I think they'll all be right there in that Grimes and PG specifically in that 14 to 17 per game range.
Yeah. So for me with George, why I switched from Grimes when we talked about it, 2 weeks ago, and now I went with George. Seeing him in those 3-on-3s and playing threes and then upping that to the 5s, seeing him in those 1-on-1s at the end of practice and all, I do think that he is ready to go. He'll be back at some point, where we get to see him maybe sooner than later. And I just think he's back. I think he's back and he's going to be better than last season. We'll get to that one a little bit later as well. So with that, let's take our first break. We have so many more of these questions to go. We appreciate everybody contributing there in the chat, throwing up your numbers for the questions that we have here and the yeses and the nos and so on and so forth. More Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, Jared McCain, so much more. And what's going to be their season record? Where will they be? We'll get into it all right here on the PHLY Sixers prediction show here on the podcast.
And guys, basketball is back tonight. You want to make sure when you get to a friend's house to watch that game, their setup is good to go. You don't want it to be lagging. You don't want it to be buffering. You don't want to make sure that they are trying to switch between apps and have no idea what they are doing. Because if you call yourself a basketball fan, you have to have Xfinity. It's the ultimate sports destination where you can find the best games and your favorite teams all in one place. And the way that you watch is next level. Get all the action right in your living room, plus Xfinity's best picture and sound with enhanced 4K. It's so clear that it feels like you're in the arena. Top of that, you get real-time notifications and live stats right on your TV. It's best seat in the house every time. Next game day, make sure that big fan isn't a big fail. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Restrictions apply. Multi-view requires Xfinity 4K capable TV box.
And guys, Derek said basketball is back. BG is also back for the Eagles. So what better time than now to talk about the Crooked T Strip Sack Pack? You can savor the flavor and celebrate that an Eagles legend is back in the game. What is the Strip Sack Pack? Big, heavy, and juicy, the kind of pack you want to show off. Crooked Tea, zero sugar, all flavor as Devon and Derek giggle like school children alongside me. The Strip Sack Pack is stuffed with 24 cans and collectible trading cards by Jordan Spector. Some cards are even signed by BG himself. Every case is packing heat. From the fridge to the tailgate, you guys know, one sack you'll be proud to display, right? So grab yours today at a store near you or on GoPuff. And for our guy BG, we have to send a shout out to the Philly area bars carrying Crooked Tea. Thank you for showing the love. Sport and Social Allentown, Garage Fishtown, City Tap in Logan Square, Wicked Wolf on Chestnut. Go check them out for game day or a night out and tell them that PHLY Sports sent you.
Welcome back to the PHLY.
I was fine until I looked
Sixers
over and I
podcast.
saw Devon giggling. That's when I couldn't. I was done.
My bad. Welcome back, presented by Crooked Tea and Bet365. All right.
Big and juicy, baby. Big and juicy.
By the way, in the chat there, Greeny Green says this about Paul George. Greeny Green says VJ, Grimes, and McCain will average more points per game than
Toledo.
Paul George. So there you go.
So if that happens, either you've had a great season because all three of those made
Or a
massive
really
leaps,
bad
or
one.
boy, did Paul fall off a cliff quickly.
Really. All right, let's get to the next question, which is still Paul George related. Where do we go here? Paul George, over 55 games played. Kyle went no.
I'm the only no of the three. Now, I should say, I think I viewed Joel and Paul right within the same band. So I think they will both probably play in those low 50s, let's say 52, 53, somewhere in there. So,
But you see why I went a little bit higher with
you
him.
said 55.
He played 41 last year and went with 55 on this one just because of the injury at the end, and he sat out because they stunk.
But look, Paul George has been an availability
Sure.
problem or
Yes.
question for a long
Yes.
time. The last year in LA was an exception, right? He played 74 games. Prior to that, 56, 31, 54, 48. Now he had a 77, 79, 70. He had a much better record of availability before that when he was in OKC and the end of his Indiana days. But this is kind of what you sign up for with Paul George, right? You want the high highs because you know that the lows and you know that the missed games are coming. So I think he'll play high 40s, low 50s. I think they can be good enough that if him and Joel both clear that 50-game threshold, they will be a solid playoff team in the East. But it's still a question mark, man. After last year, I don't think I can count on anything from him. Other than a shooting improvement, I think that they'll get that almost regardless of what else happens.
You went, yes, Derek.
I do think he has a range a little wider than Joel. Like Paul George 2 years ago with the Clippers played 74 games after playing 48, 54, 31, and 56 the previous 4 years. Joel Embiid by design will never play for 74 games for the rest of his career. So I do think there is a 95th percentile season where Paul plays significantly more games than Joel. I do agree that the risk is obviously he's 35 with a history of lower body injuries. He could miss 30 games pretty easily. Again, what's the reason for my prediction? I don't know. It's just miserable to go into a season thinking he's going to miss 40 games. Yeah.
So mine, since I agree with Derek and went, yes, mine is played 41 on a bad team last year. And he dealt with two injuries right there, with the knee to start the season off and then the finger later on with the pinky. And he was already at 41, didn't play well, as we know, down the stretch, and then they shut him down with a decent amount of games left. So if these games are going to be more important, and you factor in back-to-backs, not playing on some and just missing these games here and there as the guys ran down his history, I looked at that and said, the games are going to be more important, and he's going to play down the stretch. And if he does, he'll reach that threshold of 55 and over there for this basketball team. So that's why I went with the yes, and not just because of the going into it positively and thinking positively about the team and games played for he and Embiid, but that was my reasoning because he played the 41 a year ago.
I do hate, and this has nothing to do with your questions or questions are fair. I do hate that we're in a point in the team trajectory where like 2 of the first 3 questions are like, how many games will your max players play?
It's unfortunate, but here we are. This is what they've given us, and that's why the questions are what they are. So, no for Kyle, yes for me and Derek. Let's go to the next question then. What's his stat line? What is it going to look like for him in the yes,
Look
no?
at the overachiever, Derek, with both the field goal percentage and
Well, he
3-point
specifically said
percentage.
you can include 3-point percentage.
He said you can.
Because it was a big deal last year of what we
yes,
talked about. And
yes.
Kyle, you mentioned he shot somewhere like 32,
We're going back to
33.
the Office Space analogy. If you wanted 37 pieces of flair, make 37 pieces of flair the requirement.
I think the percentages are an important part of this conversation.
Wow. Yeah, so I said 17, 7, and 3.
And that's just above the 16 that he averaged last year.
Slight uptick in scoring. The 7 rebounds is the key there for me because Paul has not averaged over 7 or more rebounds in a season since 2018-19. He came close in 21-22 in 31 games. He had 6.9 rebounds a game. But the concept for how they want to play and how they've talked about playing only really works if one of the bigger guys on the floor is going to rebound, right? And he's talked about in the past not wanting to play power forward, but the game has evolved. I do think, too, when we watched Adem Bona in the starting lineup in that final preseason game next to Joel, part of this is based on healthy Joel and healthy Joel boxing guys out and the rest of the team having to be in attack mode, like go and get the ball. So that 7 rebounds is an important number for me. And then the assist numbers would be a downturn from last year. They're down from his career averages in general. But I think the playmaking will be more democratized. Like I think with all these guards, he won't be running pick and rolls as much. He's not going to be in those direct playmaking opportunities all the time. So as long as he gets a few helpers a game, right? Like he is still someone who can make a skip pass in a pick and roll. He'll make the right, glue guy connected passes around the perimeter. If you can cut down on some of his silly turnovers and still get some playmaking value from him, I think he could bring a bunch of value to the team. To me, his job this year is to be like the ultra glue guy connector, right? Like, hey, one night they need you to go hard on the glass. I need you to get double-digit rebounds. The next night, you got to go defend other teams' top option. I know that he doesn't like to do that, but sometimes they're going to need you on a 6'8" type of wing. Go get him, fill the scoring role, fill the floor spacing role, and I'll be happy with him this year.
Yeah, I think my theory was a lot like yours, where like the scoring and the playmaking is going to be a lot more democratized. So I dropped him down in his point per game and assist per game averages. In return, what I need is more rebounding. I went 6.5, you went 7, and I need way more efficiency, which is why I wanted to throw in those field goal percentage and those 3-point percentage. Like I need him shooting mid to high 40s from the field. I need him shooting upper 30s from 3, because if you're going to have, if you're not going to be able to or you're not going to be forced to create as much, I need you to take high value shots and convert them. Mm-hmm. And then every now and then when Joel's out, I need you to be able to, increase your scoring and take more of the burden in that regard. So I went with a pretty drastic reduction in scoring, in part because I just think there's so many other options. Like Quentin Grimes wasn't on the team last year at the start of the season. Obviously, Jared McCain didn't play all that much. VJ Edgecombe wasn't on the team at the start of the season. I think all of them are going to get opportunities to score, and that's fine. Like I have no problem spreading the ball around. And if Paul George has a much more efficient season but drops his per game scoring averages because there's just more options on the floor, I'm 100% okay with that. But I do need that. Like he's got to be efficient.
Can we flash the graphic again, Bree? So I'm just reminded of Derek and Devon's numbers. 15, 6.5, 3.5 for Derek. 19, 6, and 6.
If we get that, we're cooking. We are cooking.
For Devon, 38% from 3, I'm assuming that is.
Yes, yeah. And that's because I think that the numbers, he plays so bad last year.
Yeah.
That he averaged 16 points. And with the shooting increase from behind the three-point line, getting to the free throw line a little bit as well, will just naturally have his averages go up. Yes, there are other players on the team that are much better than last year. But again, everything went wrong last season. And I'm not saying it's going to be, look, this could be all-star type of numbers. Doesn't mean he's going to be an all-star consideration or things like that. It's just more of what's important for this basketball team. And because of that, the three-point shooting in particular, if he can hit those shots at a much better clip, I have him at 38. Even if it's at 37, 36, around that league average, if he can hit it at that clip, his numbers are just going to go up. And I think that was my thinking. And the rebounding, we saw him rebound a little bit last year out there, and he was hampered and still helped crash the glass out of necessity. And even with the assists, the playmaking, as you talked about, Derek, with Joel Embiid out there, with the talent that's around him, he's always looking to pass the basketball too. So with it, and the shot making from McCain and Grimes and so on, Maxey, and now having a healthy Embiid out there for the start, that's why I went with 19, 6, and 6. And if they do get that, to you guys' point, yeah, they're really cooking if he can get back to those types of numbers.
Devon is on PG Island over there.
He's always had high expectations for Paul, though.
Yeah.
He's always.
I am. So call me crazy. I'm good with that. Like we said, we put our predictions out there to be looked at. And
it's the time to be optimistic, man.
Call me crazy, but I think he bounces back this season. All right, we have a few more that we're going to get to with those players, and then we're going to get into the rookie, VJ Edgecombe, second-year guy, McCain, and so many others. We'll do that when we get back. Second break here on our prediction show for the Sixers season right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. And when you're getting ready to drive to the game, folks, you got to go there in style. You got to do so with your Jeep. You got to go Cherry Hill Jeep. You can go with the Jeep or your Ram truck if you're looking to do that. One of my best friends has a Ram truck, very comfortable, very cozy. You could also do some loading things on that truck, and it's very versatile. It's a great truck that he has. There's only one dealership in South Jersey who has been in the market leader since 1967, and our friends at cherryhilljeep.com, they have you covered on the best selections, but more importantly, the best prices. Our pull away in the most luxurious and functional SUV, the 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo, also included in the True Zero offer there at cherryhilljeep.com. 0% for 60 months on a 2025 Grand Cherokee L 3-row or 0% for 72 months on a 2025 Ram 1500. Drive home in your new Jeep or Ram truck today. I know people buy Jeeps and Ram trucks elsewhere. I just don't know why. Just minutes away from all the bridges or available online 24/7 at cherryhilljeep.com.
And guys, it's one thing to take all of your payment information and try to aggregate it and come up with reports. It's another thing to have when it's actually useful and that you want to use consistently, because those kind of things only really add value if you're willing to use it all the time. With Monarch Money, you feel organized and confident in your finances. An all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean interface on your laptop or phone. And right now, for our listeners, Monarch is offering 50% off your first year. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does a heavy lifting, linking all of your accounts in minutes, and you get clear data visuals, smart categorization of your spending, and real control over your money. If you're not on top of your money, you could be missing chances to save more, invest smarter, or hit your financial goals faster. Monarch helps you stay informed so nothing slips through the cracks. Monarch isn't just another finance app. It's a tool real professionals and experts actually love, and named the best budgeting app of 2025 by the Wall Street Journal. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code PHLY at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code PHLY.
Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast. Hit that like
He's
button.
got to beg for likes.
Hit that like button. It's kind of low right now. Like and subscribe to the show right now. Tell a friend and tell another friend, tell another friend. The only place for you to get pre and post game for Sixers basketball for the 25-26 campaign and daily shows throughout the week as well. When there are no basketball games, we're still here with you to talk about your favorite basketball team. So spread the word, like and subscribe to the show. Let's get us going here on this particular show and so many more throughout the 82 games and this regular season. All right, let's keep it going. We're going to Tyrese Maxey next. Will he return to his all-star form this season? Kyle says better season, but no all-star year. Derek and I say yes. Better season.
Yeah, it's just tough to make the all-star team, especially as a guard. As a perimeter player, there's just a lot of competition, right? You go down the list. Jalen Brunson is at the top of the list in the Eastern Conference. Trae Young, I think, is going to be on a better team this year. If the Magic take the step forward people expect, Desmond Bane is going to get a lot of attention. Then you look at Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland in Cleveland. There are a lot of guys competing for what are not many spots on that all-star team. But what I will say is that I'm very encouraged by what I've seen from Maxey in some of these spurts during the preseason, because the offense does seem to be getting him easier opportunities, right? Where it's not just Tyrese, and Nick said this after the game the other night, it's not just Tyrese dribbling in circles trying to find an opening, right? There's some more deliberate pin down screens, flare screens, off-ball movement, Iverson cuts, things that are engineered to get him the ball while he's already moving, rather than Tyrese from a standstill trying to beat two guys, like split a trap, turn the corner on a pick and roll. And this is the thing that he's best at, right? Tyrese, from the moment he came into the league, what he is the best at is attacking off of a closeout, attacking when he already has some speed going, spacing the floor, hitting threes, and using the threat of the three against other teams, right? So with a healthy Joel, with more perimeter help, with the ability to play off the ball more, I think he will have, even if the numbers are lower in terms of points per game because of how the offense is going to work, I think he's going to have a tremendous year. I'm just skeptical that that will ultimately end up in all-star game berth for him.
Yeah, I do think the Halliburton injury and then the Dame injury and trade opens things up a little bit. I agree with Kyle. It's a very deep class. Maybe somebody else in there has a down year. There's an unexpected injury, because once you start it, like, there's 5 real contenders, 1 injury, 1 trade, and then Tyrese is right there. And I do think he will have a significantly better year this year, both in terms of the team actually winning games and people paying attention to him. Hopefully, knock on wood, we'll get to that later. Mm-hmm. But also just in terms of efficiency. And I think he should have that should be a pretty material difference, because I do agree with Kyle. Getting him off ball, I think, is a huge deal. Having Joel Embiid back in the lineup is obviously a huge deal for Tyrese. And Tyrese is hopefully going to be more, healthier this year than he was last year, and doesn't have those nagging injuries that he had to play through. I'm expecting a really big bounce back year. I do it's going to be close. The East is pretty crowded from the backcourt perspective. But I think he should be significantly better.
And I forgot to bring up Cade Cunningham, by the way, he'll be a pretty easy all-star as long as he continues along the same trajectory as last season.
Yeah, so I just simply went with, because the 2 players there are out with Tatum and Damian Lillard, and opening it up there, yes, factoring in Darius Garland being back and back into his form, and Cade Cunningham pretty much securing the spot now going forward, and unless something crazy happens with him, he is pretty much a lock. But coming back and having a fantastic season once again with Tyrese Maxey, and looking like himself, where we saw more of that from January, from mid-December on, and having his guys back around him, how his approach has been this entire offseason, and everything that he said going into the preseason schedule, where we saw him play pretty well. I do think he'll be back in that all-star form, and if their record itself is much better, then you'll be able to see that he'll once again get those nods there.
So wait, now that I'm thinking about it, I forgot once again that they changed the format for All-Star. How does that impact the voting? Do you guys actually, because it's a USA versus the world, right? So
yeah,
if we're not doing conferences, I think it's even harder for him to make the All-Star team.
Yeah, I don't know how the voting goes, and that's a great question.
It's 3 8-player teams. I know that. It's 2 USA teams and 1 world team.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. That
it
just seems kind of goofy to me. But yeah, so I have to see what the actual voting is. But in any case, I think he's got a tough path to try to get there.
I think what I care about more, though, is he playing at an all-star level?
Yeah.
And that, to me, I think is going to be a yes.
We all agree there.
And I would say the other part of it too, there is a possibility. I think Joel would be my all-star if it's like the two of them, right? But I do think we might be at the point where, depending on the amount of games Joe plays, if they are both very good and it's like hey, we're only sending one to you guys, there will be a contingent of people who are Maxey over Embiid, people specifically in the media. Now, fan vote, I think Joel still probably would outrank him there. So we'll see.
All right, let's get to the big deal here on this particular question. The big deal presented by Jeep of Cherry Hill. I know people buy Jeeps and Rams elsewhere. Just don't know why, Kyle. I don't
know why either, Devon.
No idea. So the question is, and this is a big deal for this basketball team because it only happened 15 times last season. The trio of Embiid, George, and Maxey played 15 times last season. Did they get over 37 and a half games played together? Kyle, again, you say no.
And I'm optimistic on this team, but I'm a dissenter compared to you two PD positives over there. So my logic here was, again, I think Joel and Paul play in that low 50s area of games. And so if they, let's just say for the sake of argument, both of them played 52 games, to get to the over for this, they basically have to play 3/4 of all their games played for the season at the exact same time that the other guy is healthy. I think as a just pure numbers bet, I'm not willing to make that bet. And so I say no. We'll see if it ends up in my favor or not.
So I'm going to be honest. I missed this question. I got here and Bree's like, hey, you missed one. Can you give me an answer to this? So Kyle's logic is 100% right. Like, they're going to stagger Embiid and George. I'm going to say it should be no. The correct answer, I think, is no.
I'm still going yes.
I just wanted to be optimistic because I don't like predicting injuries before the season starts. That's all.
Yeah. And look, we know that they're going to miss time. So it's not even just about the injuries. It's also about, hey, this guy's going to have a scheduled day off. And this one is too. Tyrese Maxey is going to play a majority of those. He's probably going to be in the high 60s, somewhere along this. So he's out there. It's just a matter of, will those two be out there with him for half of those games? If he's playing, let's say 66, are they going to be out there for 33 of those games to play along with him, and maybe even a few more for that 37.5 number? And it's going to be tough I mean, we're predicting it here, and it's not easy, but 15 last year, that clearly was not enough. What would be the number, though, as you now think about it a little bit
I mean,
more?
I think your over-under is probably close.
It's in the ballpark.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, saying hell no in there. We got some absolutely's in there. Of course, my guy says 99. Al says absolutely yes. And we'll see. It depends on those two guys' health, but it was an important question that we needed to ask. Heffa says yes, 40 games that they will play there together of that 37.5. Over 40 for Hedfa. Yes for me. No and no for Derek there and Kyle. And we'll see how it all plays out. But it's really important for those three to be on the floor together. They continue to talk about the cohesion and being out there on the floor together to play at their best possible brand of basketball when they're out there. They're going to need a lot more games out there together in order for that to happen, especially if they want to be a playoff team. All right, final break for us here on the show. When we come back, we run through the rest of the questions as we go with Edgecome, another E, so to your point of the M's. With
the alliteration today.
Edgecome,
the alliteration king, Devon.
McCain, and its record, so many more right here on the PHLY Sixers Prediction Show, presented by our good friends from Crooked T and Bet365.
And guys, it's a shame we didn't get to talk about our friends at Branded Bills yesterday, because I had on the brand new Branded Bills custom hats that we got for PHLY. I will say there are a lot of hat companies out there. And sometimes when you buy them, you have to question, does it just look good on a website? Is it going to be high quality? Will it fit my head? Like, you go through all these different questions. Whatever type of hat you need, Branded Bills has you covered. It could be snapbacks, truckers, fitteds, beanies, even have tees, right? Branded Bills has performance and style. They're nice and comfy. They fit nice on your head. They're adjustable. If you're looking for some gear to make your brand stand apart from the crowd, Branded Bills also has you covered with custom headwear like the PHLY hats you've seen us wear on the show. Start your order, and their dedicated team will help you create the exact custom apparel you need. So head to brandedbills.com and use the code BBPHLY for 15% off of your first order.
And I got to tell you about our good friends from Parks Casino here and the Excite Center. You want to go get a great show in at Parks Casino? You got Bill Murray and his Blood Brothers, November 15th. That's on a Saturday. You got to get there for that one. How about Air Supply, 50th anniversary celebration, November 21st. And if you want to check out the list of acts and events that are taking place at the Excite Center, just go ahead and check them out at parkscasino.com and see exactly what you want to check out while you're there at Parks Casino. Parks Casino is Pennsylvania's #1 casino and close to Philadelphia, located in Bensalem. All you have to do is take the Street Road exit off of I-95 and the PA Turnpike. Excite Center is the state-of-the-art entertainment venue located inside Parks Casino. Named one of the best places to see the country's best comedians and music headliners. Once again, go check it out, parkscasino.com. Check out the list, see exactly what you want to see, who you want to see. Hang out for a little bit, pregame there. Play some pop culture, slots, roulette cards, and other table games while you wait. Parks Casino, this is how you win. You must be 21 plus. And gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast. Let's keep it rolling on this prediction show as we have so many of these to continue to get to. Let's get to Jared McCain and VJ Edgecombe here. VJ Edgecombe, all rookie team. Yes, Kyle says plays 65 plus games, starts almost all of them. I said yes, first team, started all season. Derek says yes, the glue guy of the basketball team early in his career. Derek, glue guy.
Yeah, I mean, I just think between the defensive pressure he's going to provide and the ability to get out on the break, both because he's generating steals and getting out, able to run the floor himself, and also his ability to handle ball and let Tyrese get off ball, I think he's just going to end up being a very indispensable part of the team. I don't think it's going to be like 15 plus points per game. I would take the under on that. I'm thinking probably more in the 11 to 13 range, but I think he's going to be very, very important. The question, because I think like a lot of what you can project him to do, you can actually project that pretty early in his career. Like the defense, I think is going to translate pretty much from day one. Won't be his final form defensively, but I think it's going to be impactful. Transition opportunity, obviously, we all had eyes. We saw the last preseason game. The shot is going to be the swing skill, and we're probably going to bring it up a million times between now and the end of the season. But even without that shot translating at a high level, I think he just so much else on the basketball floor and fits around Tyrese so well. And obviously, Nick Nurse is very invested in trying to play that out and develop him, that I think he's going to be, to what they said about starter pretty much all season, I think that's going to be the case. And that is not something I would have said a month ago, but I think that has become pretty obvious at this point.
So Bree showing the value of an editor, as always, because I had a longer thing that I said where I actually also added on to the play 65 plus, starts almost all of them, that the shot will still be a work in progress is a thing that I have been sitting on. And I feel very good about VJ's game and how he looks and what he brings to this team. I will say that as much as we're hearing behind the scenes, like, hey, it looks good in workouts, hey, he's further along than you think, that's all well and good. And I love the confidence. I feel very confident that VJ will take the shots that he gets. But there's the old saying, right? Got a lot of takers and not a lot of makers. And I'm not sure that he's at the point where he's going to be a reliable NBA three-point shooter yet. And that will irritate some people who were perhaps going up for other draft prospects during the process. It was one of the things that gave me pause as we talked about VJ in the pre-draft period. I do think long-term he's going to be helpful there. I think his free throw shooting shows that, right? Good basic mechanics. Think he's going to work hard at it. But right now, I agree. I tend to think that he'll be more of he's going to be an energy player at times where he's getting a bunch of steals, offensive rebounds, making hustle plays. He's going to chip in, I would say, somewhere between 10 to 14 points a night if I had to put a number on it. And I think that will be a very good rookie year for him. I think he's going to help this team quite a bit.
I do have to say, Devon, I think you've done a great job with the questions, especially the over-unders. Feel like they're pretty on point. It should have been, does he make the all-rookie team, and what's his go-to move? What the
Fair.
question should have been.
Fair, my bad. You know,
You got to remember that new people are coming in and they will not understand where the go-to move conversation comes from because Pumper has not been.
It's not my fault you weren't watching the show back in May and June.
Well, we do have to be receptive to the newcomers to the show. We take everybody in here.
by the way, when I looked at it yesterday, I saw the over-under for VJ's first game. I thought it was 11.5 points tomorrow scored. So that's a very interesting number to what you guys just laid out there.
That's just
So-
for the first game, though.
Just for the first game, yeah. So we'll see. We'll have our Bet365 predictions on our pregame shows. We'll see where I go. We had a pretty good record last year. So we'll see what we do this year for this basketball team. Will VJ be in this one? Maybe he will. We'll see. All right, let's get to Jared McCain here in the next question. Could he be and look, I left it an open-ended type of question. The guys were right how I framed it. Top six man, one of the top 6 men of the league this season when he returns. Could he be? Yes, for myself and Derek. And Kyle says we'll have moments, but worried about.
This is where the writer
sophomore
blames
slump.
the editor for how they.
My bad.
So at the end of this, for anyone who's listening on audio, I said he'll have moments, but I'm worried about a sophomore slump between injuries, and there's a feeling in the back of my mind he could be the odd man out in the rotation at times this year, right? So I've talked on the show during the offseason where I think there's been a thought within the fan base and publicly like, hey, Jared looked awesome last year, and he did, and that put him into the Sixers kind of core group. I don't think that the team has talked about him that way. I think the team has talked about Jared positively. I think that they, are very excited about Jared, but there is a clear line of delineation between Maxey and VJ, rightfully so in Maxey's case. And I think when you take someone third overall, also rightfully so in VJ's case, and McCain. And so when you're looking at the most important opportunities, so closing out games, starting, being the guy who's included in lineups where, hey, the coach is trying funky stuff at other positions, I could just see Jared getting squeezed for time at times this year. And now we're also at a point where it's like, hey, that's not that they're related injuries, not that it means he's injury prone, but it's like he's now dealing with another injury, coming off an injury recovery. He missed all of preseason. If he starts slow, and he started slow at Duke, by the way. It took him a while to get going. It's part of why he was able to fall into the range that drafted him. I would not be surprised if it's just like, hey, we're developing VJ. Grimes is kind of the 6th man and the 3rd guard if we have a utility guard we're going to throw in there. And he ends up not playing enough minutes. But that does not mean I'm low on him long term. It does not mean I think he's going to have a bad year. I just wonder if expectations are being set too high for him based on essentially 23 games, whatever it was last
23,
year.
yes. You went yes.
Well, and to be clear, this was play at one of the top six men, not winning 6 man of the year, because we gave our predictions for that a couple of last week. Last
Thursday.
And I had Josh Hart, so I'm not predicting him to win 6 man. I do think he will be one of the better 6 men, or at least has a chance to be one of the better 6 men. Part of that is me banking on Nick Nurse doing the right thing and starting Quentin Grimes eventually. Probably not tomorrow, but eventually. And that will open up some ball handling and some scoring opportunities for McCain as the lead guard off of the bench. This goes back a little bit to a conversation we were having in one of our previous shows where we were talking about, do you need ball handling and scoring off the bench, or, should you start someone like Grimes?
Right.
And I was like, well, a lot of that to me comes down to, do you have to worry about hiding them defensively? And McCain for me right now is the quintessential version of that. Clear offensive talent, clear offensive role, fits next to all of your stars, but you've got to be a little bit careful how you put him out there, especially when he's playing alongside of Tyrese Maxey. You got to be careful with the defensive matchups. So I do think, I agree with some of Kyle's concern that his defensive limitations next to Maxey might make it tough to get him the minutes that he would need to be a true 6-man contender. Then the other part of me just he puts the ball in the hole at a very efficient rate, and you've got to find a way to get him on the floor, especially next to all of your players that he plays off so perfectly offensively. So I do think he's going to end up getting there. It might not be, a ton of minutes, but I think he can put up points so quickly with that shot that I think he's going to put up a pretty impressive stat line. And is it going to win six man? No, I'm not saying that, but I think he'll be a quality six man in this league.
With the young guys staying here before we move on to the next one is Great Bogus with the super chat saying, what do you guys think VJ's accuracy from three will be at the end of the season? Heffa jumped right in and says 31% from three.
Yeah,
I
that's a
feel
good
better
number.
than that, I
35,
think.
Theo says 35, 37 somewhere, so about 36%. I'd say 35.
I'd say 30 to 33 in that range. So I'm like right there with Hedva.
I think right around his college number is where I'd end up. So he was what, 34%, if I remember correctly?
I think he picks
Low
it up
34.
and he'll be around 35.
I thought he was
by
closer
the
to
end of the
35,
year.
36.
I'd have to go and check, but somewhere in that range is where I would expect him. Where he will have stretches where he shoots the cover off the ball, but I don't think it'll happen at a consistent enough basis yet that
Fair.
he'll be a average or
No,
above
34.
average shooter.
You're right. You're right.
Great
All right.
question, Great Bogus. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Let's move to the next one that we have here as we go more into. We talked about the All-Star team. Kyle went with Embiid, just Maxey for me, and Derek as well, Maxey. So we kind of talked about this one already, and Kyle, you explained it. If you had to choose between one, it would be Embiid. No argument there. If he's back to being Joel Embiid, and especially when it comes to votes and all, he's the one that would get in two different ways, where Maxey would just strictly have to, I think, be selected by the coaches.
I think for me, it's essentially if the Sixers are good enough to have an all-star, Joel has to be healthy enough for that to happen, and that means he will be productive. I don't see a world where it's like Joel isn't healthy, Tyrese puts up an inefficient 25 and makes the all-star team with the Sixers having a poor record. That's just not really, with the competition that's out there, I can't see that happening. I could see both of them making it.
Yeah.
I would find it hard to believe that they'll be good enough for Maxey to make it and Joel wouldn't also make it.
All right.
I don't 100% disagree. I do think, because they usually play about 50 to 55 games before the All-Star break. So before the real voting happens and before people, quite frankly, just get anchored to their opinion, you're probably talking more like 40 games.
I think, the voting concludes
Yeah.
when January.
It's like 2 weeks before, and then they start to do the next week would be the reserves. And
So I
then
think
the
to your
game.
point, you're probably in the 40-ish game territory.
So I
at
think
that
there's
point.
probably a world where like they're a little bit cautious with Joel to start the season, just because you want to see how his knee responds to a bunch of stuff. Maybe he plays in like 20 of the first 40 games, still on pace maybe to get to like 50 to 55 by the end of the season. But you start off a little conservatively because you have more talent. You win a lot of like when Joel plays, you go like, let's say 14-6 or something like that, and you tread water in the games that he misses. You're good enough to have an all-star, but maybe the coaches, because I don't think he's going to get voted in as a starter because, they switched away, or at least I forget how it's going to be this year. Last year, it was 3 front court positions.
The one thing you want is for the All-Star game to be confusing
Yes.
for people who cover it.
But last year, there was no center, so there was no clear path for him.
It's
So
just
you've
front
got to
court.
beat out people, like Giannis, like Tatum last year, although obviously not going to happen this
Right.
year. But like Jaylen Brown, if he's only playing half the games, I'm not sure he's going to get voted in. And I could see the coach going like, let's give it to the guy who's playing every night.
All right. Let's keep it going. We have a few more, and we're almost to the overtime. But before we do, let's get to the record.
Finally, I'm in lockstep with somebody. Devon and I both have 46 and 36, and Derek with a PD pessimist, 44
I thought I
and
was
38.
being optimistic.
Everyone's named PD today. It doesn't matter if you're optimistic or pessimistic. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 46 wins. Last year, 24, disaster, as we've been talking about since the season came to a conclusion. 46 and 36 just seems about right. When you looked at, I think it was the 6th seed, had somewhere around 44 last season. And I just think that I think the conference is going to be better, even though Boston and Indiana. But when you look at these other teams, Orlando, Atlanta moving up, and you still have Milwaukee there, the Sixers surprising a little bit, bouncing back to what they had done a year ago and getting back to the form that we think we know them as. We're normally talking about 50, but 46 and 36, that just seemed about right. If they can keep them on the floor, both George and Embiid and Maxey playing at that all-star caliber level, getting the help from VJ. They're going to win the games that they didn't win last year, which were a lot of them. And those losses, those 58 losses, they're going to win much, much more. So that's where I went with 46 and 36. Kyle has his reasons. We agree. Derek, we're all around the same area there. And with
mid to high 40s.
Yeah. So let's let everybody know we're going to overtime here at allphly.com. Thank you on the television side. If you want to finish off with, I think we have about 4 to 5 more questions. Head over to allphly.com for the conclusion of the show.
I do feel like for all three of us, that was higher than it was 2 weeks ago. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Maybe not 2 weeks, a month ago for sure. A month
ago, we were like right around
when
500
we did
at
that show
best.
when they were, I think the number was 42.5 from Bet365, our presenting sponsor. And we were all like, maybe about 43.
Yeah.
Now we're at 44, 46.
All right. So I have 2 questions that Devon doesn't have all. League-wide rankings, offense and defense. Ballpark.
Oh, God.
Ballpark, obviously. Like, where do you think? I think so. Offensively, I think they should be a better offensive team than defensive team.
I would say 12th offensively, somewhere
Okay.
around there. Defensively, I still think they have a lot of work to do, and I would put them still about 18th.
Okay.
Wow, I was going to say 11th and 17th.
Yeah,
So
I was thinking like 10th and like 15th. But
Yeah.
I think better offensively than defensively, unless Joel just
Yeah.
completely, looks like 2019 Joel.
No, preseason defensively, they didn't honestly look that bad, but you can't. It's so
Yeah.
hard to tell from
Yeah.
anything in the preseason. I think Nurse definitely has personnel better suited to how he wants to play this year. And so I think pie in the sky is, VJ is so active in passing lanes. You add that to Paul George. You have a Dembona. You have Barlow's size and, frankly, improved rebounding. If they rebound a little better, the defense gets better, and they all kind of naturally trend upward. But I do think there's a clearer path to them being a good offensive team than a defensive team.
All right, 44 and 38 for Derek, 46 and 36 for Kyle and I. So where do they finish? Number one, do they make the playoffs, and what's their seeding? Let's see what we have here. 5th, 6th, and 6th. They make the playoffs, no play-in, so we don't have to worry about that. Kyle has them in that 4-5 game. Derek and I have them in the 3-6 game. Kyle? 5th.
Either is a good outcome
Oh,
because
heck
I think
yeah.
whoever is in the 3 spot, I think we all are going
Project
in
Magic.
assuming
Orlando.
Cleveland and New York are 1-2 in either order. I would be perfectly content with them going into a series against Orlando, Atlanta,
Same.
Milwaukee. If
Detroit.
Milwaukee somehow surprises Detroit, like none of those teams are a team that you line up against in round 1 and you're like, boy, this group has no chance, right? So I think 5 or 6 for them, it would be an absolutely perfect, I won't say perfect outcome is you win 60 games and you're the 1 seed, right? But I think it's a perfectly acceptable outcome for them to be 5 or 6.
So with that, Derek, let's just go right to the next question because it plays right into it. Where does the season end?
Well,
And
I do want to. There's a little bit of breaking news. It sounds like Ace Bailey might miss the opener tomorrow, not because of tendonitis, but because of the flu.
The
So,
flu?
Yeah.
Are you joking? Is this like a bit?
No, per Andy Larson.
I've
God.
had
I
the
mean,
flu.
look,
Sit down, Ace. You got all
VJ's
season.
already winning. He is clear, correct pick.
Derek is
just based-
so invested in this. I've tried to take the position of like, we had all our draft arguments and now it's like, hey, I hope all these guys succeed. Anytime there's an Ace update, Derek is like, we got to get this
I mean,
on
you
the
can't count
show.
on him. He's unreliable, not even making the first game.
Flash it up there.
I
again, Bree.
prefer to frame that as he got hit with the Sixers curse just by being connected to them at some point.
Oh, but he skipped
during
the workout. He
process.
skipped the interview.
Yes, he
Yeah.
did. Freaky, throw the graphic up there again. Derek, second round for all 3 of us. But similar numbers of where their record is. And the 6th seed, 5th and 6th seed we had, and we're right back in the second round.
This is just one where, like, if you want me to predict you to get out of the second round, like, give me something to believe in. I need to actually see it happen.
But you got them going out of the first round, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be tough, especially if they get like a 6th seed. You're playing Orlando. That's a tough matchup. But yeah. Look, I think, and we've mostly ignored the, well, if they get to the playoffs and Joel's healthy, but this is one where like you really need to, you need the big man to be still able to play basketball at a high level. And who knows?
Right,
It's just,
'cause-
it is tough for me to just project like a multi-week stretch of Joel Embiid being
let
healthy.
alone in April what's
Yeah.
going to happen. I think to your point, Derek, they could win 44, 45, 46 games, be a 5 or 6 seed, but Joel or Paul gets hurt in like the final week of the season. And then it's like, well, certainly not going to predict that they have a chance to do damage now. So those are the ones that are a lot tougher.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so let's keep it going. Second round exit, but back to the playoffs. So we'll have some things to talk about in late April, early May. We're still doing shows, and hopefully it lasts a lot longer than that for our own selfish regions. Let's get to the next one. Trade deadline. What do they do? Will they make a trade, and for what? Kyle and I says they trade for a forward, and Derek says yes for a big wing or tax ducking.
You knew I had to bring it up.
Had to do it. Get the
Where's the jar?
jar, man. You gotta get the jar back out there.
Throw that dollar in the jar, baby.
Get that.
Stuff it in.
Get
But
it
look,
in there.
I know it's a bit. And look, I leaned into it a little bit. All right. Of course, I was going to put that in there.
Yeah.
But it is like, if we're talking about, is he going to be on the team? I don't think so, because if they're good, they're going to try to trade him for a piece that fits a little better. And if they're bad, they're going to trade him to save Josh Harris some money.
So forward is the obvious. Forward, big wing, somewhere in that like 3-4 range, right? I did think long and hard about, I wonder if they trade for a different backup center at some point. Because even when they have had options in the past, we reported previously they had gone after Jonas Valanciunas at the one trade deadline, right?
Andre Drummond, when you reported that one.
This is a team that always is going to be looking at, how do we look without Joel on the floor? How do we insulate him? And Drummond clearly is like not a big factor in their plans right now, right? So if Adem does not look the part of a guy who can play a solid 15 playoff minutes or in that role as like starting caliber big, I would not be shocked if at the deadline they're shopping around for somebody who's an innings eater type of player at the 5 spot.
Look at you using baseball phrases.
Love it. That's a
Love
pretty
it.
common one, though.
They're definitely moving somebody at the deadline.
Yes, they are.
They're going to be in the mix. They're going to see something there. And with that, the next question goes to Breed did a great graphic there with Drummond.
Oh, man.
Will Kelly
Head
Oubre
foot, hide
though?
your eyes.
Will Kelly Oubre and Phil W as well. Will Kelly Oubre be traded at the deadline? 3 yeses across the board.
And I obviously combined that in
Yes.
with my last answer.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
This is not really about Kelly. It's
No.
just, he's one of the only movable contracts.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can get to some kind of rotation player. In Pie in the Sky world, it's for Tari Eason using a pick to get him heading into restricted free agency. And then we can all play this game again next summer when the Sixers and Tari Eason
Contract
ultimately are in a
discussions.
standoff and Daryl Morey
Comes back
offers
on a-
$100,000 raise on the qualifying offer. No. So, yeah, I think Kelly gets moved, and I don't really think it has much to do with him.
Yeah. Before we get to the final one, the only other one that I thought about, but just because of time, we could ask so many more questions, and we have answered a lot of questions. And we did a lot of Quentin Grimes shows. Just didn't really throw anything in there outside of the fact that his name is mentioned in third leading scorer.
Over under AAV on his next contract of $16.5 million.
So
I say under.
what's the non-tax for next year? It was 14.1 this year. I think that would be over the non-tax, right? I think that would be.
I say under, but right around that 15 and like 15 and a half number. I say 15 and a half, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I'll put the line at the non-tax. I think that's
Okay. I'm just curious. I don't know. I have no idea because I have no idea what his.
it is a
his
tough
year's gonna
spot
look
for him
like.
to
It
be
is.
in, because like there's just and like we talked about, could it be the third or fourth leading scorer on the team? But I'm not sure the third or fourth leading scorer on the team is putting up like a big like 20 point per game type season. I don't know if he's going to have the opportunity to really score.
I do think he'll have those stretches like he did last year, not where he's carrying, but he has games where he has the hot hand and they just feed the hot hand. And he goes off for a week where he's averaging 19 points a game for the week. And that's what, 3-4 games? But he has those games. And then his average is right around where you guys talked about, anywhere from that 14 to 18. And he gets a decent contract off of what he asked for. It just won't be the 20, 25 that he thought, or even 30 that he thought he might get. Final one. We saw and we've talked about what the season could look like. We all have them 5th or 6th seed and getting to the second round of the playoffs. So will Nick Nurse survive? And that's all a yes across the board.
I think a lot of people will not be happy with that answer, but
if he gets to the second round and they play well,
and they win 46 games,
he's going to be back. Yeah.
It would be a little bit incongruous for me to be like, they're winning 44 to 46 games and they're firing Nick. Like, it doesn't feel like
it would have to be a player mutiny or just like somebody walks in after the season ends and is like, get this guy the fuck out of here type of situation.
Yep. And I think he's only got 1 year left on his deal after this one. So you are getting to the point where like Josh will bite that bullet if he has to. But I just like, I'm not saying there's no chance Nick gets fired after this year. It just doesn't line up with the predictions we just
we couldn't sit here and be like, yeah, they're going to be pretty good and they'll go to the second round and also can his ass. That just doesn't really work.
He did that when Dwayne Casey won the Coach of the Year.
Yeah,
he took over.
You're not wrong.
So things do happen. All right, let's get to the super chats here that we have left. Al, the 2-minute warning. What up, Al? For some reason, I think we will shoot 40% from 3 as a team. What do you guys think?
I'll take the under.
I am definitely taking the under on that because that is a extraordinarily high bar to clear. The number 1 3-point shooting team in the league last year shot 38.7% from 3.
Who was that?
Milwaukee. Number 2 was Cleveland at 38.3. 3 was Phoenix at 37.8. You get it. Nobody even cleared 39%, let alone 40.
Well, and I'm pretty sure the Bucks were a pretty low volume 3-point shooting team. My argument there is if they shoot 40% from 3 as a team, they didn't take enough threes. You want them shooting less than that.
Yeah, the Bucks actually were right around the Sixers in volume. Yeah. They just shot 4.5% better from the line, which is a pretty big material difference. Yeah, I want to see the volume go up as much as I want to see the efficiency go up because they just didn't shoot enough last year.
All right, Al, thanks for the question. Really appreciate it. AKA Sandman, Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Says, if the 2 big lineup works, would you trade George for a dominant big like Zach Edey to pair with Embiid? Edey, no.
I'm just not a big fan of the double bigs. Sorry,
I'm okay with double bigs, but that second big needs to be an athlete. Yeah. I am not
an athlete and a shooter.
I am not putting a second big on the floor that is ground bound and can't defend in space. And like Edey can work on his own because you can structure how they play around it to some extent. Edey, when you're playing him next to another not super mobile big, I think would be a big problem, right? Jaren Jackson helps that work in Memphis. So I'm good on that, but I would entertain more of a athletic stretch big type if they could make it happen.
I'm just trying to think of who that might be.
Jaren Jackson. Jaren Jackson next to Joel would be although fantastic. He is not a good rebounder.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing, right? Is you get 2 of the 3, but that third box that you really want checked goes unchecked.
Yeah. That being said, sign me up.
If you could turn Paul George into Jaren Jackson, I would do that and not even think about it. There are just some issues that would come with that for sure.
Yep. All right. So that'll do it for our prediction show. We have a few things just to tap into here when it comes to news and notes. Number 1, basketball is back, everybody. It is.
Yes,
just want to point out, unlike his idol, Brian Pumper
will be available for opening night.
Yep.
And
hello, Brian.
What up, B Pump? With the games being back, they're back on NBC. NBA on NBC is back. We get 2 games tonight where the Lakers and Golden State go at it, and OKC starts their title defense against the new look Rockets minus Fred VanVleet. Kevin Durant in the mix with the Houston Rockets. We are back, everybody, and the NBA is back on the NBA on NBC and Peacock as well. and trying to find all of your games. How you feel about the games tonight? Just real quick, Kyle. 2 games. OKC in Houston.
The
LA,
Lakers one
no
lost some
LeBron.
luster with the absences there, obviously. But I'm very excited for the return of NBA on NBC. My wife, when she finds out that basketball season is starting before the Sixers season starts, going to be less pleased when I have to explain to her why a pregame show is on in our household tonight. Probably get banished to the office television, which is fine anyway. But yeah, I'm very excited to see just like how they do it, right? We've gone through a long time of the same 2 networks producing it. We're going to see how NBC puts their flavor on it. I'm excited for that first game. OKC, first game as champions or defending champions. The Rockets, how does Kevin Durant look there?
Ben Thompson, point guard.
Yeah, this jumbo lineup everyone is excited about. The road to the play-in tournament starts now for Houston.
Yeah, I'm curious. I want to see the in-studio thing because everyone tries to, of course, the TNT group, now the ESPN group of the Inside the NBA team. And you have what? Carmelo Anthony is in the mix. I believe Dirk Nowitzki. And they're on Prime. He and Steve Nash. Dwayne Wade is in the mix as well. Reggie Miller is with NBA on NBC. So
Derek Fisher, Austin Rivers.
I want to see how all of this looks, how they do this. But we get basketball back, and it's going to be great. Oh, look at that. Look at that. What's VJ's go-to move? Brian Pumper.
He had to remind everyone.
Dunk on somebody.
His go-to move is appearing in the game, which apparently Ace has problems with, Brian.
All right, and news and notes. This one for Bree, I was like, Bree, there's just too many. I don't want to send you all these. So I'm just going to run through them. The extensions. You mentioned Tari Eason. Did not get his. A lot of other rookies who were eligible for their extensions off their rookie deal did not get theirs. But let's run through a few of these quickly. Tamani Kamara and the Portland Trailblazers, 4 years, $82 million.
Thought that was a good deal for like Portland. He's been one of the best perimeter defenders in the league last year or so. I think he's only going to get better. Boy, the Suns really smoked that trade.
One up. Yeah,
Jeez.
big time. Also,
not the first trade they've smoked.
Staying in Portland, Shaedon Sharpe, 4 years, $90 million. They got both of their wings done.
Is that your rising player, Derek?
Yes, that was mine.
Oh, no, Devon's rising player this year.
4 years, $90 million for Shaedon Sharpe. So Portland takes care of their young guys and getting it done. Let's go to go for it.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, Christian Brown, 5 years, $125 with the Denver Nuggets. Surprised by that number?
I mean, Kyle and I were just talking about this before the show. Like, pretty much all numbers surprise me because you're still trying to recalibrate to the rising salary cap. But if you just go by like percentage of the cap, that's like what, like maybe 18% of the cap. I think that's 100% fair. I think he's a really, really valuable, useful player that they need desperately.
Yeah.
It's just there's going to be sticker shock because when it keeps increasing 10% every year, like.
I think we talked about this on the air when it happened, but Dyson Daniels, 4 years, $100 million. And it was talked about a little bit, Kyle, where he was upset at that number. He wanted something a little bit higher, but he settled in on the 25.
I would love to be in a position where I settle on a $100 million contract, man. That is what a luxury. And
you're not getting $100 million?
Guess I
gotta
gotta
talk to your agent.
Next negotiations, I really gotta work on my poker face, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, look, these guys for the most part share a common thread, right? They're all two-way players. Some of them a little better on the offensive end than others, but guys who are high-level or relatively high-level defenders who, if you scale them up usage-wise on offense, probably have some extra things to tap into. Like Christian Brown's like a 15-point per game player already in, year 3? So you scale that up a little bit. He already has great chemistry with Jokic, reading him and vice versa. So all of these make sense to me. Honestly, the Sharpe one is the one that I think is toughest because he's the guy who has the most question marks defensively, but probably the most offensive upside. I don't know what those opportunities look like for him there, given that they brought in Drew. They're trying to develop Scoot. Dame got brought back. Like, how does his role shift as they move forward? But very talented player. And he's one of those guys that, like, if you catch them randomly on League Pass, it's like, oh, I'm going to see what the Blazers are up to. And it's a little VJ-esque where it's like, oh my God, he just tried to kill somebody because he's such a freak athlete with space around him. So see how that one turns out.
No, he is. It's a good point because like Brown and Daniels are being paid for what they do right now. Like, and you're projecting a little bit of growth in there, especially for Daniels because of the jump that he made last year. But Sharp is the one that you're kind of paying for like hope of what he could become, not really being all that useful, at least in terms of driving winning of a player right now. But he's obviously got a lot of physical tools and talent, and they're betting on that in a big way.
All right, final one. Aaron Nesmith before the 2024 season signed a 3-year, $33 million deal. He just got a 2-year extension for $40 million on top of the 11 that he's going to make this season and next season. So $40 million extension on the back end of his 333.
I don't remember who said it. I want to say it was friend of the show, Sam Vecini. I could be getting this wrong, though. Someone said this type of player is one of their favorite stories in the league, right? Where Aaron Nesmith, first couple years of his career, were just brutal, right? Like he looked like a guy who was going to flame out of the league entirely. He gets a change of scenery, change of situation, works his tail off, becomes a better player. Also just, was put in a different role, different expectations, all that. And now he's able to get another $40 million when it looked like he was going to get nothing approaching that money, right? So great story of someone who came in with reasonably high expectations, went under those, and really battled his way back to become an entrenched player for the Pacers. So very happy for him.
Big playoff performer as well. And that's why it's easy to give him that extension for what they did getting to the finals. But 2 years in a row, getting to the Eastern Conference Finals, he was a big part of that, being the number one defender on the wing. He what's the other one's name that we were talking? Nembhard, that we were talking about last week on the prediction show. He and Nembhard on the wing for their defense. Those two together, just fantastic in the playoffs. And now they get an opportunity without Halliburton to really step it up and show what they can do in the regular season and surprise a lot of people that are writing them off. So those are the extensions. Tari Eason, a big name that we talked about. Walker Kessler as well did not get their extension on their rookie deals, and we'll see what happens with them throughout the year. All right, that was a fun one with our season predictions for the Sixers, and we'll be coming back to those, whether Derek wants to or not, at some point.
Nope.
To see how bad
absolutely
or good
nobody screenshot them. Bree, I'm going to
did.
erase the computer before you leave. They're gone. They're gone.
Let's get to the world famous roll call on this eve of the Sixers season opener.
Basketball is back,
Celtics.
everyone.
Yes,
and
it
I
is.
have to start with what may be the single funniest or my favorite name that's ever been in the chat. Thank you to Drip Daddy Deluxe for stopping through today. Thank you very much for. And by the way, Drip Daddy Deluxe also predicted Joel Embiid will be a Charlotte Hornet at the deadline.
Oh,
so
wow. Who are they getting back in that deal?
Mark this. That one you mark down. That's a prediction you write down because if it comes true, we got to find out who the hell Drip Daddy Deluxe is.
What up, Drip Daddy?
By the time the deadline is here. Anyway, thank you to everybody who was here today hanging out with us as we get really excited for the return of real basketball. Not summer league, not preseason, real regular season basketball. Thank you to Future Modern, to Mike, to the letter O, to Brett Brown, former Sixers head coach, hanging out in the chat
What
today.
up, Brett?
DC Marley,
Spurs.
Jack Reacher, Robert S. Downs, the great Bogus,
Oh, with a super
who
chat
had a
in
super
there.
chat today. Who are our other super chatters? Al, our
the
guy, the
2-minute
2-minute warning.
Mr.
And
Sandman.
DJ, a.k.a. Mr. Sandman. Thank you guys for your super chats today. Thank you to John Peace. Peace sign from me, but maybe not from Devon today. A. Ron,
laughing
Fresh
at
Prince
something.
215, Elaine Bruno.
What up, Lane?
Bruno.
What up, Lane?
Miko Suave in the building. Theo.
Suave.
The ace contingent of the show, Duck Holiday and B Pump. Pump it up.
Pump it up. Pump it
Back
up
in the
segment.
building.
We're back this season.
Cenobite Mare, Evans Travel Channel. We have a real vlogger in the house with us today. mom's grandchildren. Hello to mom.
Man.
Hello to Val. Hello to Corey Morris, Greeny Green, Nicholas Sargent,
Green.
Sal, Win Forever, Jesse
Hey,
Bond,
Sal.
Smy Guy, a.k.a. Smoggy,
Smoggy.
Brian Knight, the #1 star of the show, as always, Jorge, checking in to say hello. What's up to Jorge? Mellow 3 point.
You got to throw 100 again, Jorge. What's going
my
on?
Goodness. Joaquin from Cherry Hill, Sean Ford, Puppas, Alden Network,
What up,
Rick
Puppas?
Morse, Hedfa, Nona, Jess, Eugene
Hey,
Ross,
ladies.
Kay Taylor, Rob T, Dave P, and all of you out
All
there.
of
Even
you.
if your name was not said, we had a lot of you in here. I want to see that thumbs up, that like counter go up and up and up as we finish up here today. We had a good time here. We hope you did too. Please hit that thumbs up button. It helps us out. It makes Bree feel good. It gives her a thank you for all her hard work
Did a great
behind the
job.
scenes. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell icon so you get notifications each and every time we go live. We'll be back tomorrow night for pregame and postgame. Sixers, Celtics, the opener. As always, fuck the Boston Celtics.
7 p.m.
We will be back
Pre-game show.
for the pregame show at 7 p.m.
Be
there
there.
or be square. Until then, stay safe. Take care of one another. Goodbye.
We got hoops, y'all.
We all silly like the mayor.